Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border. The border crisis is on their doorstep.
So, meanwhile,
and I don't think Democrats, it would be a mistake not only to lay that blame now, but also to give up on the community. I think that would be a big mistake by the Democratic Party.
Okay, so you guys already know The View lost it after Kamala Harris clearly was defeated in a landslide victory for Trump. But now they have declared war on Latino voters because they showed up for Trump, which led to an argument between Alyssa and Sunny Hostin before Whoopi Goldberg had to step in. So what we're going to do is react to their show today. Now, first, I'm going to play you a clip where Alyssa is coming to the realization of what the truth is. And it's the truth that me, you, and everyone else who's been ringing the alarm on why Kamala Harris was going to lose. And she's finally admitted it out loud. Watch.
I do think that in this post-mortem that needs to happen with Democrats, they need to think about why wasn't she given more lead time? Why didn't Biden give her 6 months or a year to run? But there's bigger pictures. That's a micro. There are some macro issues here. The fact that the nation elected somebody like Donald Trump, who even people who voted for him, I talked to so many of these people, will say, I don't like him. I don't like the things he says, but I felt like my life was better under him. I think that a lot of Democrats missed the moment. They were looking at the micro and not the macro.
Do you think the Republicans missed the moment? What about a post-mortem on the Republican Party, which is the Trump Party right now?
They just swept, though. I mean, I've been talking about what I'd like to see from the Republican Party.
They won, but they're morally bankrupt.
But America just gave them...
What you're witnessing is high school all over again. So-and-so did this. Yeah, but what about this and what about that? Instead of just shutting up and truly coming to the realization of what Alyssa is saying is true. You guys are so focused on Trump, you forgot to focus on the voters that actually matter.
So let me just make my point here. So you have people talking about, well, how did he win Michigan? Because Democrats are saying, oh, she should have talked more about Gaza. No, union halls were empty. Dearborn went for Donald Trump. This is not about a micro issue like Gaza. It's people saying the cost of living is too high. The wages are too low. My life felt better under him. And I know what we'll say. Well, Goldman Sachs says the economy will do better under her. The analysts at UPenn and Wharton.
We'll see.
Nobody who is struggling to make ends meet at the table, like how am I going to pay this bill, cares what Wharton professors say about the economy.
With misinformation.
All right, so number one, if you paid attention to Sunny Hostin's face, it tells you everything you need to know about her and what she truly believes in, right? She's more focused on blaming everybody else except the Democratic Party and themselves for being out of touch with the voters who decided this election. And they just won't accept it. They just can't. And to make matters worse, when Alyssa finally confronts them over the fact that Latino voters who were a big deal in this election, the reason why they went for Trump wasn't because they love him, but it's because about the money in their bank account. Watch how Sunny Hostin responds.
And just one more thing I want to say. This issue of abortion, which I hope we can unpack more, there are a lot of women who cared about abortion, but they were in states like Pennsylvania where they don't have an ultra-restrictive abortion law. They were voting more because they're like pocketbook issues matter more than if a woman in Alabama is able to get an abortion.
But they're going to do worse under a Trump administration. The only people that are going to do well are the millionaires and the billionaires.
And finally, we talk a lot about these different demographics and these assumptions of where they're going to go. Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border. The border crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
The lessons are not.
Knock. Who's there? Oh, my God.
Yeah, so Whoopi Goldberg, she had to step in there because clearly at this point, Sunny Hostin, she just won't let it go. She keeps thinking it's sexism. She's going to keep thinking it's men being misogynistic. And that's why Kamala Harris lost, instead of just coming to the realization that, no, the two top issues in this election from day one all the way till the end was what? The economy and immigration. And it's people like her who have ruined the Democratic Party, because best believe there are people who are in positions of leadership who think just like Sunny Hostin. And that is why the Latinos in this election felt, well, listen, Kamala Harris isn't going to do anything for us because she doesn't even acknowledge us. And the only time she tried to acknowledge us is when she switched up her accent and she visited the border at the very last minute. Even though Whoopi jumped in, she had her own unhinged take about the economy and why it really wasn't Biden's fault. Listen to this.
Let's talk about the real stuff. Your pocketbook's bad, not because the Bidens did anything, not because the economy is bad. Your grocery bills are what they are is because the folks that own the groceries are pigs.
Yeah, but no one articulated that.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that let's talk about the reasons why gas is high, not because the Bidens didn't try to help, but because the folks who control that decided, I want more money.
All right, so you guys already probably know what I'm going to say, but I just have to say it. Clearly, number one, the reason why prices are high, it's called inflation. Okay, inflation is not caused by these grocery stores raising prices. Grocery stores raise prices as a result of inflation. Inflation happens as a result of government spending. Government spending happens as a result of a president and Congress passing pieces of legislation that is causing them to spend more money. And they may justify it in the name of public policy. We need to do this. We need to save these people, right? So again, they're highly misinformed. These are the same people who want to censor people off social media because they're claiming that we speak misinformation. But what she just said was misinformation. And unfortunately, sleepy Joe Biden, he believes exactly what Whoopi Goldberg just said because he just came out today with his speech saying that he is leaving Trump the best economy.
Much of the work we've done is already being felt by the American people, but the vast majority of it will not be felt over the next 10 years. We have legislation we passed that's just only now just really kicking in. We're going to see over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure work done, changing people's lives in rural communities and communities that are in real difficulty because it takes time to get it done. And so much more it's going to take time, but it's there. The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it.
What he's saying is true, but his perception is all of these things have happened in a positive way for the American people, when the truth is that all of these things have happened in a negative way for the American people, which is why they voted for Trump and not Kamala Harris. So what you're seeing is a true sickness of the mind where they are just removed from what's actually happening on the ground, what's actually happening in the everyday life of just an average American who does not pay attention to politics, who doesn't even barely know who the president is or what policies are being passed. They're just going to work and trying to make it by. They clearly don't understand those individuals. Now, there was a Democrat that came out today, actually, warning the party not to blame Latinos for what happened on Election Day. Here's that clip.
There were undoubtedly frustrations among many Latinos, especially in border communities with Biden's immigration policy. I do wonder when you hear some folks accuse Latino voters that supported Trump of misogyny and racism, how that sits with you, because there's evidence that points to the contrary. I do wonder how much you think those factors played a role.
Well, first, I don't think that it's fair to blame Latino voters for Donald Trump's win. If you look at a state like Pennsylvania, the percentage of Latino voters is relatively small. And I have heard some of the claims that you've talked about, but I would ask people to remember that our Latino community, this is a community that overwhelmingly supported the first black president of the United States in that election in 2012, that overwhelmingly supported Hillary Clinton to become the first woman president of the United States. So it's a community that is in solidarity with working class people, with people that have experienced injustice, with aspiring people in this country who are reaching to achieve their American dreams. And I don't think Democrats, it would be a mistake not only to lay that blame now, but also to give up on the community. I think that would be a big mistake by the Democratic Party.
Well, what's interesting, they've already done it. because the shift has been taking place. If you look at where Trump was in 2016, where he was on 2020, and where he is today, that shift has already taken place. So they've already kind of left the Latinos behind. Why? Because Latinos across the board usually are part of the working class, and the working class does not have a place in the Democratic Party as it is today. Now let's circle back on The View, because on the same day, Stephen A. Smith made an appearance, and even he admitted the problems with the Democratic Party. Watch this.
Do you think the Republicans are sort of an extreme fringe party?
No, I don't think that they're an extreme fringe party. I think that they're operating against those they believe are extreme on the left. Like, for example, when you talk about the LGBTQ community, I'm a fiscal conservative and I'm a social liberal. I'm fiscal with my dollars. I ain't apologizing for not wanting to pay high taxes to anybody. I'm not apologizing for that, right? But outside of that, I'm pretty liberal. Live and let live, okay? But you had folks on the left that were introducing some things when we got in the whole transgender issue, and they were talking about bathrooms, or they were talking about males transitioning to females and competing against girls in sports and stuff like that. These
That's less than 1% of the population.
I understand that.
That right there represents the problem with the party. They're so out of touch. They don't even acknowledge the problem. They won't even acknowledge the opinion. They won't even acknowledge the statement that there are people out there that care about this issue. You may not care, but American voters do. And the last time I checked, who decides elections? The American voters.
But you know what?
But I think that's where the mistake is made.
Yeah,
you're saying it's ridiculous. I don't disagree with you. Yeah. But most of the voters out there don't think like that.
But that means they don't have the information.
Okay, but 90% of the voters don't have the information. If you're out there busting your tail to make ends meet and to pay your bills, and you're going to work every day, and you got a family to take care of, and you're in New York City, you're getting stuck 2 hours of your day, you're stuck in traffic. You understand? You got a whole bunch of stuff to go through. You don't have time to know what you and I know.
Maybe you need to listen to the news when you're in traffic.
Well, again,
maybe
I agree
not
with
be uninformed.
No, they're not uninformed. They're not misinformed. They know exactly what's happening, because every single day they have to wake up and live it. You are misinformed. You are uninformed. You have no ability to truly have any connection with these people because of what you believe in. Your own belief system prevents you from listening to people out there that say the trans issue is a issue for them, right? The economy is a issue for them. The border is a issue for them. Your belief system prevents you from accepting that. And again, this is a symptom inside the Democratic Party that has become fatal, which is why they lost this election. Okay, so if you guys have been getting value from this video, please do us a favor. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below. You can shop our merch store or buy us a cup of coffee. Now, Alyssa, I got to give her some credit, which I believe she's a fake conservative. That is my personal opinion. I could be wrong because of how adamant she was for voting for Kamala Harris. If she had just said, hey, I'm not going to vote for anybody, or I'm going to vote third party, I could respect that. But she made a great point on here. The union workers, right? Those plants in the Rust Belt, okay? The working class showed signs to the Kamala Harris campaign that she was going to lose this election because they were not supporting her. And then what is Sunny Hostin's response? No, it's because they're sexist and misogynistic. That's what she thinks. Thank God Sunny Hostin is not running anybody's campaign. And thank God Sunny Hostin's not really in charge of anybody or anyone as it pertains to governing in this country. But there are people like Sunny Hostin that are in our government and should be called out for how out of touch they are. And at this point, she might as well make her own show on MSDNC because she would fit perfectly over there. And lastly, I just truly believe this is human nature. If you refuse to listen to what people have to say and how they feel about important issues that they are labeling life-changing, then what happens to you as a leader? You end up with the consequences. And that's where we find ourselves as a country. The Democratic Party chose to ignore the working class. They chose to gaslight them. They chose to not acknowledge the the problems they had, and this is the ending result. So they made the bed, they need to sleep in it, and that's my opinion. So what do you guys think about Sunny Hostin losing her mind, as Alyssa on The View as well challenged her about what the truth really is? What did you guys think about the fact that they're just so out of touch? They refuse to accept the truth. Whoopi Goldberg wouldn't even acknowledge that indeed, in fact, it was Joe Biden's policies that caused inflation. And of course, Kamala Harris was every step of the way because she usually was the tie-breaking vote. So what do you think about the fact that she refuses to acknowledge that as well? And guys, I know watching this video, you're shaking your head because you don't like the women from The View. However, I did do a video showing you how unhinged AOC became after Kamala Harris lost. I think it's worth watching because I'm sure you're going to come up against people who think like AOC. And so if you want to hear how I handle that and how I responded to it, you can click on that video because it's coming up right now.